The auction begins. The sky above the alien market was red and smoky. Strange metal towers blinked with blue lights. Traders from across the galaxy shouted prices, waved credits, and showed off rare creatures. The smell of oil, blood, and spice floated in the air. Jace, a human trader, walked through the crowd. He wore a black coat with dust on the shoulders. His face was tired, with a scar over one eye. He didn't come here to buy slaves. He came for parts, weapons, or maybe food for his ship, but something pulled him forward. He heard a loud voice from a raised platform. A giant alien with gray skin shouted, "And now, the rarest prize of all found in a wreck deep in Sector 12. She is beautiful, powerful, and completely obedient." People pushed closer. Jace looked up. There, in the middle of the stage, was a girl in chains. She wasn't like the others. Her skin glowed softly, like moonlight. Her long white hair hung over her shoulders. Her eyes were wide, silver, and afraid. She wore a torn cloth around her body, and her wrists were locked in glowing cuffs. "She is the last of her kind," the seller shouted. "We don't know her full power, but she has value, maybe more than you can imagine." The crowd began shouting numbers. Bidders from all corners lifted their cards. Jace should have walked away, but he couldn't move. She was staring straight at him. Everything around him went quiet. He didn't hear the crowd. He didn't feel the heat. He only saw her silver eyes. Then something strange happened. Her lips moved. He heard no sound, but, somehow, the words were clear in his mind. "Please, take me home." Jace stepped back. What just happened? He looked around. No one else reacted. No one else heard it. He stared again. Her lips were still. Her head was down now. Was it his imagination? But her eyes had locked onto him. She wasn't asking anyone else. Just him. He tried to walk away. His heart beat faster. He told himself he didn't need trouble. But the voice echoed again inside his head. It felt real. It felt like a cry from someone lost for a very long time. "And the bid goes to the black armored collector from Serac 3. Any more offers?" The seller shouted. Jac. Single quotes. His hand rose. He didn't think, he didn't plan. His body just moved. A silence dropped over the crowd. The seller laughed. "A human. You want to bid on her? Are you mad?" Jace said nothing. Someone beside him whispered, "That girl's cursed. Last owner vanished." The one before that exploded. Another added, "She's not just a girl, she's a weapon. She burned a whole lab without touching it." Jace didn't care how much. The seller narrowed his eyes. "For you, human, 10,000 credits." That was almost everything Jace had. But he nodded. "Done." The crowd murmured in shock. Some laughed. Others shook their heads. The seller waved his hand. The chains glowed. Guards moved forward. "She's yours. Don't come crying back when she kills you in your sleep." Jace walked up the steps slowly. The girl didn't move. Her head stayed down. The guards stepped back with fear in their eyes. He stood in front of her. She raised her head. Those silver eyes stared into his again. She was not crying. She was not angry, just tired. Like she had waited forever. Jace reached out and touched the chain. It felt cold and alive, like ice wrapped in energy. As soon as his hand touched it, the chain cracked. It broke without force. It melted like it was made of light. The crowd gasped. The girl didn't run. She just stood, waiting. Jace held out his hand. She hesitated. Then she placed her soft, glowing hand in his. The seller backed away. "You fool," he muttered. "You don't know what you've just taken." Jace didn't look back. He led her off the stage. The crowd opened for them, silent and watching. Some with fear, some with curiosity. The girl walked beside him, not behind. As they left the market, Jace whispered, "What are you?" She looked up at him, and for the first time, she spoke aloud. Her voice was soft, but full of sadness. "I don't know. But I'm yours now." Jace stared at her in the red light of the sky. Something deep inside told him this was just the beginning, and something dangerous was now following them. Jace's boots thudded against the metal floor of his ship as the cargo bay doors shut behind them. The alien girl followed him silently, her steps light, almost weightless. Her hand still glowed faintly where it had touched his, but now it dimmed with every step. He led her to the medical corner of his ship. It wasn't much, just an old chair, a scanner, and some leftover supplies, but it was better than a cage. "Sit," Jace said gently. She obeyed, folding her legs beneath her like a child. Her eyes stayed on him. Never blinking, Jace picked up a scanner, held it over her wrist where the chain had melted. The machine sparked and died. He frowned, tossed it aside. Guess you broke that too still. She didn't speak. Jace leaned back against the wall, arms crossed. What are you called? The girl tilted her head slightly. Name? Yeah, he nodded. Do you have one? She looked down. Her voice was quiet. They called me Test Subject 73. That's not a name, he said, voice sharper than he meant. That's a number. She glanced up again. Then what should I be? He sighed. How about Nova? Her lips moved in silence. Then she nodded slowly. Nova. Jace stared at her, something strange churning inside him. He had seen many things in this galaxy: battlefields, broken moons, slave auctions, but never a girl like this. Never a being who whispered into his mind. He remembered the moment again. The silent message. The voice that only he had heard. Please, take me home. How? Why? He knelt down in front of her. Tell me how you did that. The whisper. I heard you in my head. Nova blinked. I only reached out through telepathy. He asked. She looked confused. I don't know the word, she said. I just knew you would hear me. I felt your sadness. It matched mine. That answer made his chest tighten. Sadness. Was it still written on his face? He stood up. So why me? Why not anyone else in that place? Nova hesitated. The others wanted power. You wanted nothing. I saw quiet in you. I saw a home. Jace turned away, not ready to hear more. You were chained like an animal, but you didn't fight. Why? Her answer came without pause. Because I didn't want to hurt anyone again. That again echoed in his head. You've hurt someone before. She nodded. They made me do it. In the labs, I broke walls with thought. I melted steel without fire. I made machines explode. They clapped every time I did it. But I cried every night. He looked over his shoulder at her. She wasn't lying. There was no pride in her voice, just pain. He sat down on the crate nearby. And the last time you used your power? Nova stared at the wall. When I healed you. What? In the market, she said. You had pain in your side. From an old wound? I felt it. I touched your hand, and I gave some of my light to you. Jace looked down, pulled up his shirt. The scar from his shrapnel wound, always tight and sore, was gone. Smooth skin was all that remained. He stared at her. You healed me with your, what, life energy? She nodded. I can give, but I lose strength when I do. Jace stood again. Why would you give it to me, a stranger? You took me from the chains, she said softly. You called me by a name. Silence filled the ship. Jace stepped back. He needed air. He opened the hatch to the observation deck. Cold stars floated outside the window. A purple nebula swirled like paint in the distance. He leaned on the railing and closed his eyes. Nova followed him but kept her distance. Then she asked, why did you bid on me? He didn't answer right away. Then he said, because you asked me to. She nodded. And if I hadn't, I'd still be walking past cages. He muttered. Suddenly, a loud beep echoed across the ship. An alert. Proximity warning. Jace ran to the console. What now? The screen showed two ships following, small, fast, armed, unmarked vessels. Jace muttered. No ID. Pirates. Nova's face turned pale. No, not pirates. Those are trackers. From the labs his blood ran cold. They followed you. No, she whispered. They followed you. Because you took me. Jace stared at the blinking screen. Time to impact. 6 minutes. He turned to Nova. Can you fight? Her eyes glowed faintly. I can, but I might not stop. Jace grabbed the control panel. Then we run. We get out of range before they lock on. Nova stepped beside him. If they catch us, they won't take me alive. I will not go back. Jace looked into her eyes. You won't have to. Outside, the stars twisted as the engines roared behind them. Two dark ships gave chase inside the cockpit. The whisper was no longer a voice in his mind. It was real. She was here, and she had chosen him. The stars outside twisted as the ship jolted forward. Jace gripped the controls with one hand, sweat sliding down his neck. The engines roared harder than they had in months. The two tracker ships stayed behind, fast and steady. Their weapons locked, and hungry. Nova stood beside him. Her eyes glowed, and the air around her felt warm, like a quiet fire waiting to grow. Her voice was calm. They won't stop. They never do. Jace looked at her. Then we make them stop. Or lose them. He pushed the thrusters to max. The ship jumped between asteroids, slipping through narrow gaps. Warning lights flashed red. Metal groaned. Behind them, lasers cut through empty space. Just inches away, Nova placed her hand on the console. For a second, the ship's lights flickered. Then everything steady. Just stared. You did that. I gave it what it needed. She whispered he didn't ask what that meant. The trackers were still gaining. Jace checked the scanner. A fuel depot was nearby. Old, broken, and abandoned. But it had a magnetic field around it. Enough to hide their signal. He turned sharply. Hold on. The ship dove toward the shadows of the station. Metal towers rose from the wreck like black bones. They slid between them, fast and silent. Then shut down the engines. Complete silences. Cut the lights. The ship floated like a ghost in a graveyard on the scanner. The two enemies stopped outside the debris field. One passed by. The other hovered, waiting. Nova whispered. They know we're here. Yeah, Jace muttered. But they can't reach us fast. Gives us time to think. He stood up and walked toward the storage bay. Nova followed in the dim light. Jace opened a hidden box. Inside were old weapons, stolen data chips, and a small black cube, glowing faintly red. He stared at it. Nova tilted her head. What is that? Something I hoped I'd never use, Jace said. It's a beacon. Sends a signal to a contact, a fixer, a shadow dealer. He trades in secrets, fake IDs, escape routes. If anyone can get us off their radar, it's him. Then call him. She said. Jace didn't move. He only helps for a price. And he always takes more than you expect. Nova nodded. Then give him me. No, Jace snapped. Never. She blinked slowly. Then let me speak to him when the time comes. I want to hear what kind of man sells freedom. Jace touched the beacon. The red glow pulsed once, then again. A low voice echoed from the cube. Jace, I thought you were dead. Jace stepped back. Not yet, Carvin. I need a vanisher. 2 trackers on my tail. Labs from Sector 12. A pause, then Carvin laughed. So you finally stole something shiny enough to chase, not something. Jace said. Someone. Carvin's tone changed. Living cargo. Alien girl. Not just any girl. She's glowing. She talks into your mind. She heals. She breaks machines by looking at them. Another pause. You're insane, Carvin muttered. But fine. I can help. It'll cost. Jace braced himself. What do you want? I want her voice. Carvin said. Jace frowned. What does that mean? 5 minutes of her thoughts. Direct link. I want to feel how she sees the world. The labs couldn't capture it. But if I do, I can sell the experience. The feeling of being her. Jace looked at Nova. She nodded once. I agree, he said. No, we'll find another way. But she stepped forward. I trust myself. I won't let him take what he wants. Only what I give. Carvin spoke again. The link is active. Stand by. Nova closed her eyes. A soft light surrounded her. The cube glowed brighter. For 5 long minutes, no one spoke. Jace watched. Tense. Then it stopped. Carvin's voice returned. Softer now. I didn't expect that. Her mind. It's like stars crying. Fine. You'll get the vanisher. Sending coordinates now. Go there. Land. The field will cloak your ship for 40 hours. After that, you're on your own. The cube went dark. Jace stared at Nova. Are you all right? She opened her eyes slowly. He saw too much. But I gave him only surface thoughts. Memories of the stars. Of rain. Of soft places. He wanted more. But I held back. Jace reached out and touched her hand. You didn't have to do that. I did, she said. Because I choose this path. Not them. Not chains. Not cages. Just choice. He nodded. The tracker ships were still outside. Waiting. But now they had a chance. Nova looked out at the stars. Again. Just whispered. We made a deal with shadows. Let's make sure it was worth it. The engines lit again. They vanished. Into the void. The hidden field around the dark planet swallowed their ship like smoke around a candle. No radar could see them here. No signal could pass through. For the first time in hours, Jace let the engines cool. The silence wrapped around them like a blanket. But inside, the weight of the last deal still sat heavy on his chest. Nova stood near the viewing window. The stars outside were blue. Soft. Distant. Her face reflected in the glass. Pale and still. Jace watched her. Something about her made the air feel different, like every second near her changed something deep inside. He walked over slowly. You didn't tell me you could control machines. Nova turned to him. I can't. Not fully. I don't speak to machines. They just feel me. I touch their heart. And sometimes they listen. That's not normal, Jace said. Even for alien species. You're something more. Nova nodded. They made me that way. I wasn't born. I was built. In pieces. In pain. Jace leaned against the wall. You remember it all? Yes, she said. The cold room. The wires. The burning when they tested my blood. The way they smiled when I screamed. They pushed me until I broke glass with thought. I made steel bend without moving. They told me I was a success, but they never asked. What you wanted, Jace whispered. Nova stepped away from the window. Her fingers brushed the wall of the ship. The lights brightened, then dimmed again. A soft hum filled the room, like the ship responded to her presence. I didn't know what I wanted, she said, until I saw you. You were the first person who didn't see a weapon. You saw someone lost. Jace stared at her. I didn't know what I saw. I just knew I couldn't leave you there. Nova walked to the table and sat. She looked tired. Her hands trembled slightly. He moved closer. You used your light again. To power the ship, didn't you? She nodded. Only a little. But each time, it takes from me. My strength fades. Jace knelt down. Then stop using it. We'll find another way. Nova looked at him. But what if I'm only alive because I have this light? What if, once it's gone, there's nothing left of me? He didn't answer. He didn't know how then. A sharp beep rang through the ship. Jace jumped up, rushed to the console, a distress signal. He said, "Close. Real close." A small ship nearby crashed. Life signs weak. Nova stood. "We have to help them." Jace turned to her. "It's not our fight. We need to stay hidden. I was in a cage when you found me," she said. "Now someone else is in trouble. What if they're like me?" He paused, then nodded. "Fine, but we go quiet. No light. No weapons. Only what we can carry." They took the small pod and flew through the mist. The downed ship was torn open, smoke leaking into the sky. It was an old cargo runner, half buried in mud, and Fire Jace climbed out first, blaster ready. Nova stepped beside him inside the wreck. They found the pilot barely breathing. A woman, face bloody, leg pinned under a heavy panel. Her eyes fluttered open. "Help," she whispered. Edges tried lifting the metal. Too heavy. The pilot groaned. Nova touched Jace's shoulder. "Let me." He stepped back. Nova knelt beside the injured woman. Her hands hovered over the wound. Light grew between her palms. The air shimmered. The woman gasped, then sighed. Her breathing steadied. The bleeding slowed, but Nova swayed. Jace caught her before she fell. "You said you wouldn't." He whispered. "She would have died." Nova said, voice weak. "I can feel her pain." It was loud. "I couldn't turn away." Jace carried her back to the pod. The rescued pilot followed, limping, but alive, back on the ship. Nova lay on the med bed. Her skin was pale now. The glow inside her barely flickered. Jace sat beside her. Silent. The pilot looked between them. "She saved me. Who is she?" Jace looked down. "Someone they tried to break. But she keeps saving others anyway." The pilot nodded. "You need to hide her. People will hunt her for what she can do." "They already are," Jace said. "But I won't let them take her again." Nova stirred. Her eyes opened slowly. "Jace, I'm here," he said. Her lips curled into a weak smile. "Was it worth it?" He took her hand gently. Every second outside the ship, the stars spun in silence, but inside, a power unlike any other was learning what it meant to be free. The stars outside twisted like ghosts in water. Jace sat alone in the cockpit, eyes fixed on the black void. He should have felt safe in the hidden zone, but his fingers tapped the edge of the control board, restless. Nova was asleep in the medroom. The rescued pilot, Captain Aya, stayed quiet, watching from the shadows. She didn't ask questions, but she understood one thing. Clearly Nova was not normal. Jace leaned back. The hum of the ship calmed him a little, but something felt wrong. Like something unseen was crawling toward them. He tapped the radar again. No signal. No light. Then, just for a second, the screen flashed. A single red dot appeared, far beyond the field, then another, then 6 more. No names, no signs, just silent, perfect movement in formation. Jace stood up fast. "They found us." Ia looked up. "Who?" He didn't answer. He was already running to the medroom. Nova was sitting up, breathing slowly, eyes glowing faint again. She felt it too. "They're here," she whispered. Just nodded. "How said we had 40 hours. Nova's voice was soft. "They have a way. They always did. My kind was never free for long." Ija followed them into the cockpit. "You need to run. Or hide. No point," Jace said. "They'll catch us either way. These aren't pirates. These are the masters. The ones who made her. They don't stop." Nova stood behind him. "Then let me fight." Jace turned. "No. You almost collapsed last time." She stepped forward. "They won't take me alive. If they board this ship, I will burn it all before I go back." Jace looked into her eyes. She meant every word. The red dots on the radar grew closer. Still silent. No warnings. No threats. Just cold precision. Jace took a breath. "All right. If we're fighting, we do it smart. Iya, you know weapons." She nodded. I'll hold the side guns, Nova. Stay near the core, he said. Only use your power if it's life or death. She said nothing. But her silence was louder than words. The enemy ships reached the edge of the field. One fired a test shot. A beam of red light sliced past their hull. A warning. Jace gritted his teeth, shields up. Power to engines. As soon as they broke out of the hidden zone, all 8 ships locked onto them. They fired together. The blast rocked the ship. Metal screamed. Ia fired back, hitting one target. It spun and crashed into another. To down. 6 Remengers pulled the ship through tight turns, dodging beams and missiles. Smoke filled the air. Sparks flew from broken screens. We won't last long, Ia shouted. They're too fast. Jace opened a hidden panel. We have one jump crystal left. But it only works if no one's tracking. Nova appeared behind him. Let me handle the tracking, he spun. What do you mean? I can send a burst, she said. From inside me. It will short their sensors. But it will take more than before. Maybe too much. No, Jace said quickly. We'll find another way. There is no other way, she said. You gave me a name. You gave me choice. Let me use it. Jace hesitated. The ship shook again. A missile hit the side. Warning lights flashed. Nova placed her hand on the floor. A wave of soft white light spread through the ship. The power flickered, then stabilized. The screens cleared. Outside, the enemy ships stopped. For a second, confused. They can't see us. Ia gasped. Now, Nova said. Jump. While they're blind, Jace slammed the control. The jump engine screamed to life. Light wrapped around the ship behind them. The masters fired blindly. Beams cut through the mist, but none hit in a flash. The ship vanished. Silence returned to space when the stars stopped spinning. They were far away. A quiet sector, unknown. Empty. Jace turned around. Nova was on the floor, eyes closed, chest rising, and falling slowly. Her glow was dim, like a candle running low. He ran to her, lifted her gently. Stay with me. Don't fade. She opened her eyes a little. Did we escape? He nodded. Because of you. She gave a soft smile. Then it was worth it. Ia stood at the doorway, watching. She saved us all. But those things they'll come again. You know that, right? Jace looked down at Nova, holding her close. Then let them come. We're not running next time. Outside the ship, the stars drifted silently, but inside, a spark still glowed on, even hunted, even bleeding. Nova had done something the masters feared most. She chose the ship. Floated in a dead zone between stars. No signals moved here. No planets, no stations, no light except from faraway stars that flickered like cold fire. Jace moved slowly through the ship's halls. Nova hadn't woken in a day. Her glow had faded to a soft pulse in her chest, and her skin felt colder than before. He sat beside her, holding her hand. He didn't know how to fix her. The ship had no medical tools for someone like her. Her body wasn't human. Her blood wasn't normal. Her breath came in long, slow waves, like she was resting beneath something heavy. Captain Ia stood in the doorway, arms crossed. We need to know more. She saved us. But if she's fading, maybe the answer is in her past. Jace looked up. Asked. She doesn't remember all of it. Only pain, chains, wires. Ia stepped closer. Then maybe it's time to stop running from what made her. Maybe it's time to go to the source. Jace narrowed his eyes. You want to go back? To the labs? No, she said. I want to break into the database where her files were sent. Not the lab itself. There's a black vault station near Sector 7. It's abandoned, but the masters left data cores behind. If we get in, maybe we find answers. Maybe even a way to save her. Jace looked at Nova again. He saw her chest rising, faint and slow. Then he nodded. Set the course. The journey took 6 hours. No one spoke much. The station appeared like a giant cube floating in silence. Dead lights. No guards. Just old security drones drifting near. The intransiges flew in close. Stealth mode. Number. Weapons. We get in. We get what we need. We get out. The docking was smooth. Jace and Ia stepped into the cold hall. Their boots echoed. The place smelled of rust and dust inside. Walls were covered in old screens and half-broken wires. The vault doors stood tall at the end of the corridor. Protected by a single scan lock. Jace reached for his tool, but the panel blinked on by itself. Then it opened with a hiss. They both froze. That was too easy. Ia whispered. Regis stepped in first. The room inside was full of black data towers, silent, humming with old power. In the center stood a chair, empty, with head straps and arm clamps. Jace walked past. He'd found a small console still active. He plugged in his scanner. A soft beep. Then the files appeared, hundreds of folders, names, serial numbers, experiments. He searched for one word: test subject 73. The screen paused. Then one file opened. It just leaned in. She wasn't from a race. She wasn't part of a planet. She was made. They had taken DNA from multiple species. Human, Silpha mixed them in secret. They had used stolen human soldier samples, cloned and tested again and again. 72 failures. The 73rd had survived on Nova, but the surprise came at the end. Scrolled down and saw something that stopped him cold. The base DNA, used for brain functions and memory structure, had come from one source: a human soldier captured during the war. Codename J92. He stared at the photo in the file. It was him. His eyes, his face, 10 years younger, staring back from a lab. Pichariah stepped beside him. Is that? He nodded slowly. They used me. I was their sample. That's why she hears me. That's why she speaks in my mind. Part of her is from me. They left the vault in silence. Back on the ship, Jace sat beside Nova again. Her eyes fluttered open. You went somewhere. She whispered. I found your file. He said. And I found a part of myself in it. She didn't speak. He continued. They made you with my DNA. My mind. That's why you reached me. That's why your voice found mine. Nova turned her head slowly. Does that mean I'm not real? No, Jace said. It means you're more real than anyone. You were made with pain. But you chose kindness. You chose freedom. You chose to save me. Again and again, a tear slipped from her eye. I always felt lost. Like I didn't belong anywhere. But when I saw you, something inside said home. Jace held her hand tighter. You're not a weapon. You're not a copy. You're Nova. That name is yours now. She gave a weak smile. Then I'll keep it behind them. The stars continued to shine. The truth had come out. She was made in a lab. From war. From fear. From stolen pieces. But her heart was her own, and now, with Jace beside her, that heart had something it had never known: a reason to keep beating. The stars outside moved slow, like waves in space. Jace sat in the pilot's chair, staring ahead, but his thoughts were back in the medroom. Nova was resting again. Her glow soft but steady. The truth about her past still echoed in his mind. She was made from war, from pain, from him, but she had chosen something else. She had chosen him. Captain Ia leaned in the doorway. She's stronger today. Her breathing is better. Jace nodded. She smiled at me when I brought her water. First real smile I've seen. Ia looked at him. You know the masters won't stop. Now that they know she's awake, they'll send more. Stronger, smarter. Jace didn't answer right away. Then he said, then we stop running. We fight. Ia raised an eyebrow. With what? We're low on fuel, weapons and allies. Jace stood and pulled up the galaxy map. There's one place they won't chase us. A deep sector near the black rings of Velharn. There's an old human outpost there. Dead for years. But I trained. There once. It has shields. A dome. If we can reach it, we can hide. He'll plan. Ia looked at the map. It's a rough path. But it's a shot. Nova's voice came from behind them. Then let's take it. They turned. She stood in the hallway, wearing a soft wrap and holding onto the wall for balance. Her glow was brighter now. Her silver eyes steady. Jace rushed to her side. You shouldn't be standing yet. She touched his arm. I have to. I don't want to stay in the dark anymore. Ia nodded with respect. Then we moved the ship, turned and slid into the void. Time passed slow. Jace stayed close to Nova. They shared food, silence, and memories. He told her stories of Earth, of green fields and blue skies. She listened like a child hearing tales for the first time. She told him about dreams she never understood. Running through rain, touching sunlight, a small wooden house by a lake. None of these places were real for her. But when Jace described Earth, they matched. She asked him one night, do you think I was meant to meet you? He answered, no. But I'm glad we did anyway. 2 days later, the outpost appeared through the glass. A cracked metal dome covered in space dust, hanging near a ringed planet. It looked like a grave. Jace landed the ship slowly. The doors opened with a groan. The air was thin but safe inside. The outpost was quiet. Dead screens, old chairs, rust on the walls. But the main generator was still warm. Nova placed her hand on the wall. The lights flickered, then returned. I remember this place, she said softly. From dreams I never lived. Jace found the main chamber. It had a view of the stars and soft old chairs. He cleaned it, made it theirs. Days passed. Nova grew stronger. She walked the halls, touched the walls. Each time, the place lit brighter, like the outpost was waking up with her. Just watched her from the window one night. She stood barefoot on the platform, eyes closed, arms raised. The stars shined over her, and her body glowed like she was part of them. He stepped out quietly. "You look like you belong here," she smiled. "For the first time, I feel like I do." They sat together. She leaned on his shoulder. "I've never had a home, not even a bed of my own. But here, with you, it feels like home is not a place." Jace looked at her. "It's not. It's a feeling, a choice, a promise to stay." She turned to him. "Then, I choose you." He didn't speak. He just held her hand that night. She slept without fear in the morning. Alarms rang 3 ships outside. The masters had found them again. Jay stood in the command room. Ia loaded weapons. Nova walked in calmly, her glow stronger than ever this time. She said, "I won't run. And I won't burn out. I've learned to balance the light inside me." Jace looked at her. "Are you sure?" She nodded. "Let me show you." She walked to the dome center, raised her hands. A wave of silver light spread across the sky. The enemy ships froze mid-flight. Their engines dimmed. Their scanners shut down. Then they turned away. No shots, no words. They just left. Jace stared through the glass. "You scared them." "No," she said. "I reminded them that I'm no longer theirs. That I have someone who would never chain me again." She turned to him. "So, will you still take me home?" Jace stepped forward and took her in his arms. "You're already home, Nova, and in the heart of a dead outpost, surrounded by stars. The girl who was made in a lab found something the masters could never program, a soul of her own, and someone who saw it."